Hi and welcome to this week's workshop where we cover off carving using a tool called Foremost. Foremost is typically included as part of the standard Kali Linux distribution, and to see if you have it you can simply type in the command foremost -h. And if you see the help screen then you've got it, and if you don't then you'll need to elevate to be root and install it using the package manager. The usage of the package manager has been covered in previous videos and can be found easily on Google if you search for the commands such as apt install. So for this week's activity, you need to download some existing hard drive images that are located on Blackboard. So if you have a look, I've already downloaded the 3 files that are recommended as part of this workshop on Blackboard, as well as I've included our virtual hard drive lego.dd so that we're going to actually do some carving on our ongoing Lego forensics case. There's a couple of ways you can get the files onto your Kali Linux virtual machine. You can either log into Kali, launch a web browser and log into Blackboard directly and download the files within Kali, or you can use file sharing whereby you use the host's file system and share a folder with the virtual machine so that you have access to the host's hard drives and file systems. So for this workshop, I've got these files located in a specific directory and I've already navigated to that directory. And to see that directory, you can see it's already as part of my user prompt, as well as if I type in pwd, it will return the path where I'm located as well. This may be different to yours depending upon your setup and how you've got your host and guest machines configured. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually just going to have a quick look at the Foremost configuration file. Now it needs to have a configuration file in order to run, and if you've deleted it or it's missing, then Foremost won't run. In Kali Linux, it's located in /etc, and we'll have a look, but if you're not using Kali and you've installed Foremost on, say, Ubuntu, and you're unsure where your Foremost configuration file exists, you can find it by running the following command. I've previously run it, but you can see, so this command will recursively traverse your whole hard drive looking for that file, and the utility is called find. We're starting off at the root directory, and we're going to look for a file of name foremost.conf. Now the reason we have this last bit here is that anything that errors out, for example, if you don't have permissions to look in a specific directory, then it will throw an error to the screen and cause a whole lot of information to fly past, and you may miss exactly where the file is located. So a shortcut for standard error is 2, and that's just a convention across all Linux distributions and Unix distributions for that matter. So we're redirecting the output to 2 or standard error to /dev/null. In other words, redirect all of the garbage or all of the errors into nowhere. Just don't show it, make it disappear. So if we run that command, it'll go away and search my whole hard drive looking for that configuration file. So we'll run that now. And you can see it's already come back with a result. I'll let it run through to completion just in case there are multiple files that we need to be aware of. So that's completed successfully, and it's shown me where that file is located. So we can actually have a look at that using the view command. Opening it in view rather than vi or pico or any other editor is preferred because you open it in a read-only mode. And that's to avoid the possibility of inadvertently modifying and writing to the file and creating an error. So we'll use view and we'll pass in /etc/foremost.conf as a parameter. Now you can see this is my file. Yours should look similar. Most of it is commented out. And the reason most of it is commented out is because most of the standard files that you'd find on a standard distribution, be it Windows, Mac, or whatever, are included as part of the coding within the program itself. The use of this configuration file is for when you have an uncommon file that you need to search for. So you can actually include its header and footer hex values and give it a fingerprint for Foremost to actually look for. So you can see there are a lot of files that they are including as standard incorporated within the code directly within Foremost. So you don't actually need to uncomment this to go looking for all of these files that are listed. It will do it automatically. If you specify no parameters after you launch Foremost other than the hard drive that you're looking to do carving on, then it's going to go away and try and look for every file type that it's aware of and every header and every footer. And it can potentially be quite a long operation, and it may not be what you're looking for. You may be looking for specific file types so that you can examine in piecemeal chunks, allowing you to be a bit more scientific and surgical in terms of your investigative research. My recommendation is when you run any carving utility is that you do provide the parameters to specifically look for specific file types rather than go carte blanche and just carve everything, which probably isn't what you're looking for. I forgot to show you that when you want to get out of view, and this is just me doing things in automatic mode, the way you'll need to get out is press colon or shift semicolon. So you're pressing colon and then the Q, which takes it to command mode using the colon, and Q is for quit, and then you just press enter and it'll take you back out to the command prompt. In looking at the help output, you can see by default it has a few switches available. There are more available and you can read those in the man pages. But the ones that this helps us with, you can actually see that what we're actually going to do is we're going to be looking for specific file types, which means that we need to use the -T switch. And you'll note that you can specify more than one file type, and you have to have that in a comma separated list. In this workshop, we'll be looking for singular file types and working through iteratively. The other important switch that we need is the -I, and that specifies our input file. This is going to be the DD file that we want to start carving from. The other thing that we want to look at too is the output directory. Now, if you specify no output directory, then it will create its own default output directory called output. And that may be or may be not what you want, but in our workshop, we're going to use the switches and specify a custom output directory, and I'll explain why as we go through. With all that being said, we'll start on our first piece of carving. So if you have a look, you can see I have my hard drive image files that I've already downloaded, and they're sitting there on the file system. And the first thing that we're going to look at is we're going to examine our mod6-1 file, and we're going to try and extract some audio files from that to see if anything exists in that hard drive. So the command that we're going to run is foremost. I'm going to stipulate the input file, which is mod1.dd. We want to stipulate the file type. We're going to be looking for WAV audio files, and we're going to direct the output -O to WAV_files. You can call it whatever you like. You can call it files, my files, just something that has meaning to you. So we'll run that command. If I actually look at what I'm typing on the screen. Okay, so that's finished processing, and you can see I've now got a directory called WAV_files. So if you have a look, there's the WAV file that we extracted from that hard drive. And you can hear that we have something that is a valid sound file that's returned. So now that we've verified that we can actually scrape files out successfully, we'll run that command again, but this time we'll try a different type of audio file. We'll do a WMV file. So we'll just change the names to protect the innocent, as in we'll change the filter to look for WMV files, and we'll also change the directory name so that we don't have any collisions with the previous run. It's gone through and has finished processing. And we can see that there's another directory called WMV located within that directory. And we have another audio file, WMV, that's been successfully carved off of the hard drive. Success. Okay, so moving on, we'll run foremost again, but as an example, we'll run foremost without the -T switch. So we're not going to stipulate a file type as a filter. We're just going to let foremost run and do whatever it wants, and we're going to have a look at what the output looks like after that. So we just run that command and just let it do its thing, and it's already finished. And we can see that within the output directory that we stipulated, which was the -O, which is files, we stipulated an output directory called files that's been created. And within there, it's managed to determine that there's been two different file types that are on that hard drive image, and it's extracted all of them and put the file types in their respective file type directories. You can examine the audit.txt and see what it's actually done for us, and it will tell you that it's extracted two files and what they are and their size. This is actually handy as well if you need to know the carving summaries. Again, we can look to see the files are there, which we can validate that it successfully extracted those. Excellent. Okay, so now that we're comfortable with using Foremost and some of its basic switches and filters and the like, we should start using our newfound skills on our LEGO forensics case. This workshop also required you to download or locate the lego.dd hard drive image, and we're going to run Foremost against the lego.dd file. So if you see in my directory, I've already positioned my lego.dd file. I'll remove the previous directory of the output files, and then we'll run Foremost, and we'll stipulate as the input file the lego.dd file, and the type of file that we're going to look for is JPEG. We use JPG, and the output directory will just list as JPEG files. And we'll press enter and let that run. Now that's going to go away and carve all of the JPEG files out of that hard drive, and given that this is a 35 gig drive, that may take a little while. As you can see, based on the current speed, this is why we don't run Foremost with no switches, because it would carve pretty much everything off of the hard drive and take an inordinate amount of time. So we'll let this run for a bit and then we'll come back when it's finished. Okay, so we've now returned and we can see that the process has finished successfully. So the big question is, what are we left with? If we get to our Explorer, we can actually go and have a look at where we had the output directory, JPEG files, and there was a directory, JPEG directory created in there, and we can see all of the JPEG files have been successfully carved out. And you can see, as in an icon view, all of the illegal contraband that is on this hard drive. So let's run that again, and this time we'll run for PNG files. So we'll just hit upward arrow so that we can get to our command line history. We'll change the output to PNG files, and we'll change the type to PNG. And we'll just run that again, and once again, that'll take an inordinate amount of time, and we'll come back when it's finished and I'll show you the output. Okay, so that's finished running now, and we'll have a look at the output from that in this directory. And you can see it's pulled back a lot of files that we're examining, and they're all of type PNG. Okay, so for the last thing, we're going to try and extract specific type of file that relates to Office style files, more specifically OLE style files. So OLE is a type of filter that is pre-programmed within Foremost, and we're going to leverage that filter and try and extract just the Office files, things like Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. So we'll use our command line history with the up arrow. We'll change the filter to OLE, and we'll have the output directory as a custom directory called OLE files. And with that said, we'll run that and let that extract all of the files that are in that hard drive, and we'll come back when that's finished. Okay, so that's run to completion, and then when we have a look in our directory for our output files, we can see that we have our OLE files. There's the custom output directory, and in there we can see a doc folder, and in there we have a Word document that we're able to open. Which at first glance looks blank, but when you highlight the lot, you can actually see it has some text there. And there you have it. So that's a good example of doing some carving using Foremost. So I hope that's been informative, and thanks for following along for this workshop.